Ever wondered if what we see is really all there is? Like, if our eyes are only picking up bits and pieces of a much bigger reality, what are we missing out on? For centuries, there have been stories of apparitions, signs, and crazy stuff in the sky documented in books, letters, and now, in the digital age, in videos and photos. But the question always comes back, are these genuine miracles or just reflections of what we want to believe? I'm a man of faith, sure. But I'm also a guy who asks a lot of questions. My journey started years ago when I was just a young student, buried in sacred texts and the mysteries of the church. I was taught that miracles exist, but only a few witness them. Then it hit me. What if we're surrounded by miracles, but we're just unable to recognize them? That nagging thought is what made me travel the world. People call me a lot of things. Some say I'm an investigator. Others think I'm just another skeptic looking for rational explanations. But those who've walked beside me, those who've seen what I've seen, they call me something different. They call me the miracle hunter. And the question that sticks with me is this: are the signs that so many people claim to have seen, faces in flames, silhouettes in clouds, shadows in stones, just illusions? Or is there something waiting to be revealed? In recent years, a series of inexplicable events has popped up around the globe. Some of them went viral, spreading across social media and reaching millions. Others were forgotten, lost in unpublished reports or discredited before they were even investigated. But they all have something in common: a pattern, a trail that cuts across centuries and seems to follow the same cycle. An apparition in the skies, a reflection in the water, a face in the flames. Each of these events on its own might seem like a coincidence, but when you analyze them together, something starts to emerge. Today, I want you to see what I've seen. Paris, 2019, Notre Dame Cathedral is on fire. The world watches in horror as one of the greatest structures of the Catholic faith is consumed by flames. And then, an image. The light shapes a humanoid silhouette, arms outstretched. It looks like a familiar figure. Some say it was just a play of light and smoke. Others claim it was the presence of something greater. But this wasn't the only time. In the files I've collected, I've discovered similar events that happened in different parts of the world. Sofia, Bulgaria, 1980. During a mass, a figure dressed in white mysteriously appears among the faithful. But when the recording is revisited years later, no one can identify this person. No evidence that someone with those characteristics was even there. Buenos Aires, 2021. A security camera captures a beam of light forming in the sky, slowly taking the shape of a recognizable face. A meteorologist attributes it to an unusual atmospheric phenomenon. But there's something strange. The exact same pattern has appeared before. On another continent, Mexico, 2015, a statue of Christ opens its eyes. Hundreds of people witness it, some recording the moment. But when experts try to prove it's a trick of the light, they can't reproduce the effect. The question remains, what's going on? If it were a single case, we could dismiss it, but they keep popping up, following a pattern we still don't understand. I'm not here to convince anyone. My role is to observe, record, and investigate. I want you to see the signs and draw your own conclusions. The only certainty I have is that these manifestations aren't isolated. There's something bigger at play, and I wonder, are we prepared for the answer? If so, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. There are times when we look at the sky and see only clouds, but there are others when we look up and see something else, an outline, a face, something that makes us doubt whether what we're seeing is real or if our mind is playing tricks on us. What would you do if, when you looked up, you saw the image of Christ looking back at you? What if, upon reviewing a photo, you noticed a detail that wasn't there before? These phenomena happen around the world, and although some are quickly Dismissed as illusions, there are those that defy any explanation. Today, we're going to investigate 3 cases. One in the sky, one on an altar, and one in something that, at first glance, seemed inanimate. And in the end, the question that always comes back: are miracles real, or do we create them because we need to believe? The shadows in the sky, Buenos Aires, 2021. It was an ordinary afternoon. The sky over the city of Buenos Aires was clear, a cloudless blue. At least until a shadow began to form. It was Monica, a young Argentinian woman, who recorded the moment. She said she was walking home when she noticed a strange glow in the clouds. She took out her cell phone, snapped a photo, and then looked again. The light passing through the clouds formed an outline. To many, the shape resembled the iconic statue of Christ the Redeemer. The photo quickly went viral. Thousands of comments appeared, some calling it a divine sign, others explaining that it was just a meteorological phenomenon. But what caught my attention was something else. The same image, the exact same shape, had been recorded before, in 2017, on the other side of the world, in a remote village in Italy. 2 images, 2 different countries, same silhouette. Coincidence? Maybe. But then I discovered something even stranger. On both dates, there were records of seismic events shortly after the apparitions, small earthquakes, which leads me to ask, are these signs in the sky just tricks of the light, or are they warnings? The miracle of light in the Vatican, 2023. The Vatican is one of the most studied and protected places in the world. Everything there is documented, analyzed, and, in a way, controlled. But in 2023, something happened that no one could explain. During a mass in St. Peter's Basilica, a light appeared on the altar. It wasn't a common reflection. It didn't come from a spotlight. For 27 seconds, a column of light hovered over the space where the Eucharist was. Witnesses said they felt something different in the air. Some described a sudden warmth, others reported a feeling of absolute peace. Experts tried to find an explanation. They analyzed cameras, checked the electrical system of the basilica, calculated the position of the sun at that moment. No explanation, no technical fault, nothing to justify that glow. The Vatican never gave an official answer. But, for the first time, I heard people within the church itself admit that maybe, just maybe, some things can't be explained. The Christ in the Stone Eyes, Mexico, 2015. And then we come to a case that defies logic in a different way. Not a sign in the sky, not a supernatural light, but a statue. It was a quiet afternoon in a chapel in Mexico when a man named Alvaro decided to film the chapel inside. He was an enthusiast of religious phenomena and had already visited dozens of churches. But on that day, something was different. Upon reviewing the footage, he noticed a chilling detail. At one point in the video, the eyes of the statue of Christ were closed. In the next second, they were open. He watched the recording over and over again. He showed it to friends. The footage was published and quickly generated a heated debate. Video experts analyzed the images. Some tried to explain how a play of light could create the illusion of movement. But to this day, no one has been able to replicate the effect. The Catholic Church has refused to comment officially, but for those who witnessed it, there was no doubt. Christ opened his eyes, and maybe he was watching us all along. Throughout this journey, we've explored signs in the skies, images in flames, and figures caught in old footage. But where does all this lead us? Is there a hidden pattern in these phenomena? Or are we just connecting dots that were never connected in the first place? I've spent years gathering evidence, listening to testimonies, investigating places where supposed miracles have happened. But, of all the mysteries I've encountered, there's one that haunts me to this day. Something that's not just in the clouds or in the flames. Something that may be watching us from an even deeper place. This is the last piece of the puzzle. The question is, are you ready to face it? The last mystery. In the files I've collected over the years, a pattern has started to emerge. Small details, numbers that repeat, dates that coincide. For a long time I ignored it. I thought it was just a coincidence. But then I found a document. It was a report kept in a church archive written over 100 years ago. The author was a monk who described events strangely similar to the ones we've documented here. Lights in the sky, faces appearing in stones, figures seen and quickly vanished. He called these events warnings. But warnings of what? I searched deeper. And the more I searched, the more connections I found. The phenomena happened at specific moments in history, before wars, before crises, before major changes in society. And then I found something that made me hesitate. In recent years, these events have become more frequent. The apparitions in the sky, like those in Buenos Aires, aren't isolated cases. Similar photos have emerged in various countries. The light in the Vatican wasn't the only event recorded inside a church, and the statue that opened its eyes. Other sculptures have been reported doing the same in different parts of the world. The question then isn't whether these events are real anymore. The question is, what do they mean? The lost connection. I started cross-referencing information. I found accounts of apparitions that occurred on the exact same day, but on different continents. Images recorded decades apart, but with the same visual pattern. And then I realized something disturbing. These signs seem to respond to the state of the world. During periods of greatest conflict, more apparitions were recorded. In times of great uncertainty, more testimonies emerged. Are these phenomena an attempt at communication, or just a reflection of our need for hope? The monk's diary. The document I found wasn't just a report. It was a diary. The monk who wrote it believed that these manifestations were interconnected. He spent his entire life trying to decipher them, and his last entry left me speechless. It said, "The last piece will be revealed when we are ready to see it." What did he mean by that? What are we about to see? I don't have all the answers, but one thing I know, if there's something trying to tell us something, we can't ignore it. Maybe, just maybe, we're about to discover the truth. The final question I ask you is this: if you found a sign, would you believe, or would you pretend you never saw it? The mystery remains, and the answer is closer than we imagine. What would you do if you found a sign right before your eyes? Would you believe it, or would you try to find a logical explanation? Throughout this journey, we've investigated mysterious apparitions, images that defy reason, and patterns that repeat throughout history. But now we've reached the end, and the final question I leave you with isn't about proof, but about faith. I've spent years traveling, listening to stories and gathering evidence. I've met people who have seen something they couldn't explain. Some have embraced these experiences as a divine calling. Others have ignored them, fearing what it would mean to accept their reality. But the truth is this: whatever the answer may be, we all seek something greater. We all, at some point, look up to the sky in search of a sign. The search doesn't end here. Many believe that miracles happened only in the past. But what if they're still happening? Maybe the signs aren't visible to everyone. Maybe, to see them, you need more than just opening your eyes. Maybe you need to open your heart. What I've learned on my journey is that faith doesn't need proof to exist. Faith is the certainty of the things that are not seen, and that certainty can change everything. When I look at the accounts we've investigated, I realize that it doesn't matter if the images in the clouds or the lights on the altar can be explained. What matters is what they mean to those who see them. After all, if a simple reflection of light can rekindle someone's hope, isn't that in itself a miracle? And what if the signs we seek are already all around us, waiting to be recognized? The promise of hope. The Bible teaches us that signs have always been among us. In Matthew 24:30 it is written, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky with power and great glory." Many believe that this moment is yet to come. Others believe that it is already happening, little by little, before our very eyes. Whatever your belief, one thing is certain: faith will always find a way to manifest itself. It may be in a silent prayer, in a gesture of kindness, or even in the way we choose to see the world around us. Have you ever thought about that? The greatest miracles are not always those that defy the laws of physics. Sometimes the true miracle is the transformation of a life, the change of a heart, the certainty that even in the darkest moments, we are never alone, the end or the beginning. If you've made it this far, you may have found more questions than answers. And that's good, because the great mysteries of life were not made to be solved easily. They were made to challenge us, to make us look beyond the obvious, to make us question, reflect, and above all, believe. The journey doesn't end here. There are many more mysteries to explore. Have you ever heard of the unexplained sounds coming from the sky, or about the ancient prophecies that seem to be being fulfilled in our day? If you want to continue this investigation with me, there's much more to discover. Now I ask you, what will be the next mystery that we will unravel? Together, the answer is closer than we imagine. Until next time.